Welcome everyone. My name is Joanna Maria Zawada and I'm here with Martą Czaplą Bystrowską, and we have a pleasure to talk with our mentor, with our leader, with our teacher, Alanem Seale, from Center of Transformational Presence. Alan is our mentor on transformational presence. And today we will be talking about Soul Mission. This is the program that together with Marta we will lead from May, and we have this honor to be today with you, Alan. And we are so curious, like how it all started for you.
Wow, that's a big question. So I created this work in the late 90s, and I think led the workshop for the first time in 2000 or 2001. Um, I kept feeling like I have to find out why I'm here. And there was nothing written about, there were no books on soul mission or life purpose at that time, which is kind of amazing because a lot of people talk about it now. It's a much bigger topic, but at that time there was nothing. And so I did my own kind of journey inside of coming to my soul mission, which is I liberate and empower. And then began creating this process out of it, and then wrote the book. Um, and and then led the first 4-day workshop um, in 2001, I think, and it kind of took on a life of its own as it went forward. I leading it 2 or 3 times a year here in the U.S., and then soon it traveled to Europe, and then now it's been in so many countries, and now it's there in Poland with you.
Yes, this is so important what you said. Like there is no manual on how to live, how to really live at the on a deep level, and like this is more than just to know what to do and what goals to put in front of you, but this is something much deeper that you are talking about.
Yes, it goes so much beyond goals, for sure. I've actually never been one much to set goals, which is not to say that's a wrong thing to do, but it's always comes from inside for me, this inner calling and soul mission, to realize that your soul mission or your life purpose, that's not a goal for your life. It's who you're called to be, how you are called to walk in the world. What is the gift that you're bringing? It's your greatest lesson through this life. A soul mission is not something that you can say, oh, yes, of course, I do that all the time. It's easy. If that's the case, no, that's probably not your soul mission, because it is also your greatest lesson. You're learning through your whole life. So for me, I liberate and empower. It's every single day I still catch myself in some way saying, Alan, how are you holding yourself back here? What is it that you need to liberate yourself from right now? What is the empowerment you need to offer for yourself going forward? And so soul mission is how you move in the world. Out of that comes life vision, how you choose to live that. And that is your choice, how you choose to live the soul mission. But that soul mission, you're born with it. It's the calling of why are you here? What is the gift you're going to bring to this world?
Hmm. So talking about that, I'm actually curious. We were talking with Marta before talking to you, like what inspired you in unfolding Soul Mission? How did you get inspirations to create this course? It's a very full, very deep, very robust as well course that holds you for 4 days, and it um, was it like an inspiration that came in a moment, or it was like collecting things? How did it happen? How
I
did it
think it was
unfold?
a kind of natural next step in my own spiritual journey. I had been on my own spiritual path for quite a long time, many years, and that started in certainly more self-awareness, and then an intuitive awareness and intuitive development and self-development, and then leading courses, beginning to lead a course in New York in self-discovery for artists and performers, knowing who they were and what is it that they have to bring to the stage and to their work. And then from that, it became leading more into this intuitive development and recognizing that the rational mind is just one small part of the much larger mind. The intellect is a part of the intuitive mind, but the intuitive mind really is the larger mind. And as I explored that and went deeper and deeper in my heart and opening my heart, then it also became clear you're here for a reason. We are all here for a reason. And what is that? In one way, you could say that everyone's soul mission is the same. It's to be a vehicle or a vessel through which love flows into the world. And yet that love flows through each one of us in a unique way. And that, I think, for me was such an important turning point in recognizing that we each bring something unique to the world. We are each a different expression of that love. We are each a different expression of that creative and sustaining force of all that is, however you want to name that. And so then it kind of took me on this quest for myself. So what is that for me? And as has been the case in developing all of my work, I go through my own process. I find exercises within myself, I find myself doing something to take a next step and then realize, oh, maybe I think this is a process. This is a way that can help other people. And then I write a script. And then I mean, that's kind of how the whole soul mission 4 days unfolded. The first 2.5 days focused on discovering your soul mission, and then the last part of the workshop being focused on, so therefore, what will you live in the world? What is your vision to carry that forward? To understand mission gives you direction and purpose, and vision gives you a pathway to live that mission and purpose. So they're two different things, the soul mission and the life vision. The life vision being the vehicle through which you live your soul mission. So that's kind of how it all came into be. Everything in my life is just this organic unfolding. It's like whatever my own inner journey is then becomes something that I take out into the world and offer to others.
Mm. Alan, when you say about leaving soul mission, what becomes easier and maybe what becomes more difficult when you leave your soul mission?
That's a great question. I think that the thing that becomes easier is recognizing that whenever there's a decision to make or something I'm considering, do I do this? Do I do that? Where do I go? The first question that I have to ask myself is, does this allow me to live my soul mission more? Or does this keep me from living my soul mission? Is there something there that will shut that down? Is there an expectation of who I am to be or what I'm supposed to be that's not actually true to who I am? And so it makes life easier in that you have that fundamental discernment tool to sense, is this the right path for me or no? Or if I have two possibilities, which one sets me free the most to live my soul mission? Which one brings me alive the most? Because it's also so helpful in recognizing, we get so clear about what is it that brings us alive? What is us that ignites the passion within us, which means therefore we're going to give our greatest gifts to the world around us. And then that second part of your question, no one's ever asked me that before. What makes it harder when you have known your soul mission? Maybe I hear this voice in my head of how many people over the years have said to me, oh, I could never do that course because if I really knew why I was here, then I would have to live it. And they were kind of too comfortable in their own life. What makes it harder about knowing your soul mission is now you know why I'm here. And it's going to call you into situations and circumstances when you're not necessarily comfortable. Your soul mission is going to pull you into that next step. It's going to stretch you. And if you're not willing to be stretched, it just gets really uncomfortable. And so I think that's the hard part. And if you are willing to be stretched, it doesn't mean that the stretch will be easy, but at least now you are partnering with your soul mission. You're partnering with taking those next steps in your life.
When you say that, the quote from David White comes to me right now. Anything or anyone that doesn't bring you alive is too small for you. So it could be something very joyful and that really feeds your soul at this very moment. And it could be something very, very difficult that stretches you, right? As you say.
Yes, yes. And that whole thing about knowing what brings you alive. There it is for soul mission. And what brings us alive it's also going to challenge us. It's going to make us grow, because that's why it brings us alive. It's something stirring inside.
Mm.
Yes, so this is like even when you talk about it, I can already feel that activation of the energy, what really makes people alive. And when I feel alive, when I also don't feel alive. And I'm curious because I know that you've created that, you've been always close to yourself and to your mission. Have you ever been in a place that you felt that you were not really close to your soul mission?
Yes.
And if that
Yes.
happened, yeah, how
Yes.
was
Before we began recording, we were talking a little bit about this last year, and the year of 2024 was challenging for me because of a role that I had taken on that ended up being in a situation on the board of an organization that became very, very difficult. And in the tension and conflict and ugliness of that, I found myself swept up in, I'm supposed to be this. I have this role to play. I have to do this. And everyone wanting something different. And part of my healing was coming back to saying, wait a minute, remember who you are. Remember why you're here. And it comes back to Marta's question about what makes it, what's easier and what's harder, because you know your soul mission. And there was a moment where both of those were so present when I realized, wait a minute, this is not why I'm here. This particular role does not create a space in which I flourish and can bring my gifts to the world. This is very limiting. And so it was so hard to know this is not why I'm here. And yet I've made a commitment. I must see this through. And to find that dance, and then to find the way of, kind of finding how, yes, I think I can see this through. But I had to do a lot of work inside of myself. And I had to come back and remember who I am and why I'm here. Other situations in which that has happened, we all have our relationships with our families in different ways. And I've had a beautiful relationship with my family. And at the same time, years ago, I learned that I go back to be with my family, and I go back to be in this little place that how they know me to be. And I grew up in a different part of the country, and where life was smaller, let's just say. And I would kind of go and make myself small to fit into there, and then realize you can't do this because you're dying when you're here. And so to then step back into the fullness of who I was there, and to go home to my family in the fullness of who I was, actually brought everything alive. It was my own story about making myself small to fit in there that was creating that. But I had to remember who are you? Live that fully wherever you are. Don't ever stop living who you are.
Yeah, it sounds so true. And that some people, it's too comfortable for them to live soul mission. So, what does it really take to live your soul mission?
Well, I suppose it all depends on the circumstance. Sometimes it feels very easy to live your soul mission. And other times you realize I'm here in this situation because I have something to bring that the situation needs, and it's not easy. In my soul mission, I liberate and empower. So to be in a situation where there is no freedom at all, no one is feeling empowered, there's a big fight going on, whatever that is, and to recognize, okay, it's really hard to be here in this moment. The more I live, and the more I walk through easy times and hard times, because that's life, we walk through easy times and hard times. And I realize the more I can be true to who I am and to keep my heart wide open, the more I find my way. through what is there. So it comes back to, it's so easy when life gets hard to close our hearts because it feels like it's a protection. But it's not a protection. It's actually a weakening. So it's learning how to stay with your heart open and be true to who you are and let the truth of who you are become your strength. Become your power in that moment. It's for me, it's not a loud power in those moments. It becomes a very quiet, very still, very focused and concentrated power of who I am and why I'm here. It's incredibly intense. It can also be exhausting in one sense, and yet there's something enlivening about it at the same time, because you know you're staying true to yourself. And when you're true to yourself and you're true to your heart, you become true to the people that you're with. Even if what you're saying is not what they want to hear, you become true to the moment and true to the relationship. Not necessarily true to what the other person wants or what the others want, the group wants, but true to the relationship, which is the space in between you and the others. And that's the space we have to hold pure, is that relationship space. So soul mission is also, I've never said it this way before, but it's about what we put into the space in between, what we put into the consciousness. Yeah, what we put into the ma, as we talk about in transformational presence with that Japanese concept of the empty space, which we know is never empty, but the space in between.
Alan, getting back to the program, to Soul Mission Live Vision program, what is really happening there? And the question is, like, from your experience leading the groups, the many groups over these 24 years, I remember my experience. It was very intimate. It was like getting back home to myself, crossing over the fears, meeting myself in a very difficult moment, and in not knowing. It was very powerful and at the same time very intimate program for me, process. So from your experience, what is really happening there?
I think intimate really is the word. Soul Mission there are 4 signature programs that I created in the transformational presence work, the leadership and coaching work, and the leadership and action work, and manifestation wheel, and Soul Mission. Soul Mission is the most intimate of all of them. It's the most deeply, deeply personal. And so that workshop to me, or retreat, whatever the format is you're doing it, it has such a much more profound, deep sense of being in it. It is, all of the workshops, all of the programs are experiential for sure. And all of the programs take us on a journey. But Soul Mission just cuts to the core of who you are. And I suppose ideally, when you have done Soul Mission before you do any of the others, wow, then you're entering into all the others from this awareness. And if not, you come to Soul Mission later. It's not, people come into this work in all different kinds of entry points. But Soul Mission is, I just love that you use the word intimate, because it is incredibly intimate. It is incredibly profound. It is incredibly personal. It's like you hear people's voices get softer and stronger in a way that sometimes louder is weaker, yeah.
Yeah, it really shows from the experience of participating in your program as a participant, but also leading it. I really sense that intimacy, but also what you said about the voice, the quiet voice that becomes really um, powerful in how it gets to the others. It's beautiful. And sometimes, you know, the people are asking, so who is it? Is it for me? Who is it for? And we were thinking, like, what our participants need to know so they can be more encouraged to step on this way of discovering their soul mission. From your experience, from your perspective, what do they need to know? What can really invite them into soul mission?
What do they need to know? That's a little hard to say because everyone has their own experience through it. I mean, everyone takes away different gifts. And yet, over all these years and hundreds of people who've gone through this program with me, I can say that people come out, their life is different when they come out of this program. And it's hard to say exactly how their life is different because for everyone that is different. But you meet life differently. You understand circumstances and situations in your life from a different perspective, from a perspective of learning, from a perspective of everything is here for a reason, which we may not understand in the moment that we're walking through it. But if we can trust that what's happening, there is some reason behind that. In my own belief system, I believe that in every situation, in every circumstance, everything, that there is an intelligence within that is guiding us. So some people might call that God, some people spirit, some people universe, some whatever, greater wisdom. Great mystery is kind of my favorite term at the moment, but it's this intelligence that is guiding. And in transformational presence, our work is so totally centered on recognizing that there is something that wants to happen. And through that intelligence that is guided, there's something that's trying to get our attention in any situation that's wanting to take us on to the next place. When you know your soul mission, then you can relate to that, what wants to happen in a more profound way, because knowing your soul mission, you realize, well, if that's what wants to happen, here's what I can bring to that. Here's maybe my part in taking that forward, whether that's in your family or your community or your company or in the world, on whatever size stage you play on, it doesn't matter. Because your soul mission is a really important thing, that your soul mission doesn't care the size of the stage in which you live your life, but it does care that on whatever stage you walk, you live your soul mission fully, full on, full out. And so this piece of meeting life, we just meet life differently. I also love that I had an email from someone that I haven't heard from for more than 20 years. I did some work with her company. I can't remember if I told you about this before, but and it was more than 20 years ago that we did this work, and we did soul mission work with her. She has a small marketing company. And I hadn't heard from her since then. And she sent me an email and said, I just came across my notes from that session. And I want you to know that we're still living that soul mission. That soul mission is still on our wall, and it guides us every day. 20 years later, people I hadn't heard from. There's something here in this work that we touch people's lives when we live who we are here to be. And when we do what we're here to do, we touch people's lives in ways we never, ever imagined. We make an impact in the world.
I remember your words after my soul mission, that inviting the soul mission to the life is hard, is difficult, and you are actually called to invite your life into soul mission, and this is like, yeah, this is a stretch as well.
Yes, it's a huge thing that we always talk about on the last day, that if you leave the experience together, saying, okay, now, wow, a lot's happened for me in these days. How do I fit this into my life? You won't. Your life is full. Things are very well established. But if you leave those days saying, wow, a lot has happened inside of me, how do I invite my life to meet me here? Just that attitude, that awareness already makes a difference. You go back home, you go back to your workplace, you go back to your community, you go whatever it is that you're going home to from the workshop. The more you stay with who you are, as the people in the Netherlands say, stay close to yourself, you know. It's that staying close in. The David Whyte poem as well, start close in. And invite life to meet you here. The people that matter, the places that matter, they will meet you there when you invite them. They may be a little lost at first. It's okay. Just love them and be who you are.
That sounds like a greatest challenge, probably, at least for me, like being really who I am in every situation with every person, especially sometimes with family members, as you described before. And yeah, this is such, as you said, this is such a gift and such a stretch to live your soul mission.
Well, you know, this is not exactly about soul mission, but when people talk about relationship, and we live our lives in relationships every day with different people in different kinds of situations, and family and people that we have relationships with for many, many years, and other people that we're meeting today for the first time. But when I think about what is an enlightened relationship, it's a relationship in which all parties are setting everyone else free. In every relationship, if we are constantly setting the other person free, there it is. And so we set others free, we're asking them to also set us free in that time. I find that the more I set people free, the longer they stick around, you know? It's like nobody leaves.
They want to be free.
Well, but people get very afraid, oh my gosh, if I set them free, what if they leave me? You know, I hear that fear. No, lift them up, set them free, help them to find their wholeness. If they leave, then they needed to go, and that's what needed to happen. But in my experience, they mostly stay, you know? Yeah, set people free.
Exactly. And this is very much about soul mission. I remember that was a part of my soul mission, that you were leading this exercise, clean slate, when we were setting free. And somehow soul mission is about setting ourselves free to be able to follow it, to be able to follow the potential. So this is so much, it is so much touching such an important part when I hear it, setting others free, setting ourselves free to be able to follow what's important. We are getting slowly to the end. I wonder, is there anything else we want to conclude this with?
Yeah, just as a closing invitation, opening this invitation in the closing for today. What is your invitation, and what do you invite people to, Alan, to participate in this program?
Give yourself the gift of who you are. Give yourself the gift of who you are, who you were born to be. Take the risk to open your heart to life, and to know why you're here, and to live that. To live that. It will change your life these days. It will change your life.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. It's wonderful. I'm so excited for you and for your participants, and no, it's going to be a fantastic 4 days, and I look forward to hearing about it.
Yeah, we are looking forward with Mark. Thank you so much for your time, for being with us, and And we invite everybody who is inspired by this conversation to contact us to move forward together in May in Poland.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Anna.
you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.